welcome back, folks. And this time, moving on to two very interesting models. One being around for a long time, the only one just joining us. Thanks, Hearn, for making that deal in Season 2. Seriously, go back and read the fluff. It happened in Season 2. It wasn't a fix in Season 3. I'm sorry, I'm just going to take a moment. Hemlocke. A veteran Hemlocke. Only with us a very short period of time. We've seen two significant changes. One is that sort of universal change to blind to make the game more free-flowing and less standoffish, as apparently that's a good thing.
Rooney shot it.
At last, Connor, we agree on something. Blind is a really interesting one for me because blind seems like such a clutch play, but I think people misuse it. Blinding hammer is still going to hurt you.
Well, 8 inches away, if you could also do something else, it actually did a lot. 6 inches away, I think, pretty much kills blind as a shutdown super solo mechanic, and I think it's finally whereas when it originally happened, it was -4 move, -4 attack, and just destroyed fighting models. Whereas it wasn't that big a deal for some scoring models. Whereas now I think it's full on an anti-footballer thing because the -2 kick plus the -2 move means you're basically -2, -4 on a goal run. And I think that's where its largest value will be now. Because if you walk up to someone and just blind them, they'll just walk up and kill her.
I'm going to disagree with you slightly because A, it's fun. And B, I think Hemlocke's blind is the best blind in the game because of what other pieces go around her. Let's go back to my old friend, my old favourite Casket with Heavy Burden, with Foul Odor, with Ghastly Visage. That -2 move is being compounded with so many other movement debuffs. That's all right. That no one else with blind can really do that, aside from Fish, and it requires Shark's legendary play to do it. Alchemists can't do it because it would require Sticky Bomb and Blind, which is both calculuses.
I mean, you could technically run original Hemlocke, but yes.
Yeah, but the combination of other movement debuffs and blind on Hemlocke, I think, makes this already the best blind in the game. Add in Midnight Offering, which allows her to legitimately get far enough away from the target, makes this the best blind, if you can hit it.
So what's interesting about that is, I agree, she is the best blinder in the game. But what's the reason that she's hit less hard by this change is a lot of the other blind models relied on kind of either passing the ball to dodge out, or a lot of them just got second winded. And the second wind changes really hurt the walk up blind, walk away strategy, whereas Midnight Offering hasn't changed. So although her blind is 2 inches shorter, she still can end 12 inches away from you. Whereas someone like Calculus originally would have ended 13 inches away from you with second wind, and is now ending 6 inches away from you because second wind is guild only, so you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, and Hemlocke and Scalpel get on really, really well. So
I think for me she's the best model in the guild. I love veteran Hemlocke and the amount she can do, and now she's your condition removal model.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't see why you wouldn't take her. She's just amazing.
I mean, if nothing else, she's a phenomenal battery with a 2-inch reach, and that at times is enough reason to take a model for me. Like, the amount of times I've had Skulk in a 6, and all he's done is crowd someone out and generate 2 influence a turn. Well, Hemlocke can do that just as well, and has the potential to bring so much more. I agree. I think she's an utterly phenomenal model. It will come as no one's surprise that she is most definitely in my roster, but then so far every model is.
But momentous tackle on one with 2-inch reach is Morticians have gotten a lot better at tackling in season 4 with her change, Vet Graves change, Bonesaw's change. That's 3 momentous tackles on one. That's pretty good.
We're very soon about to talk about Silence once we're done here, whose tackle went from the 5th column to the 2nd. So that's not insubstantial.
He actually had the worst tackle in the game in season 3.
I can believe that. So yeah, Hemlocke was a great model anyway. She's a better model now, and she's a better model for nerfs elsewhere. And all of her abilities are compounded by other abilities in Guild. I don't know if I agree with you that she's the best model in Guild, but I think she's certainly in that conversation. I think she's an utterly phenomenal tech piece.
Yeah, she's one of those you can put in your lineup, and your opponent is none the wiser as to what she's going to do, which is quite, which given the discussions we've had previously about kind of telegraphing your intentions with, say, the Cosset Bomb, with Vet Hemlocke, you're not telegraphing anything if you put 3 on her.
Mm.
Yeah, if you put 1 on her, she can blind someone, or Midnight Offering, or Smelling Salts.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a lot of flexibility.
And with 2 on her, you've got a 20-inch goal threat. Which, the sort of the old traditional Obulus Puppet Masters himself to jog, and then he sprints, and then he shoots. That's any Mortician player listening to this has at some point scored that goal, because it's it's in our bag of tricks, particularly with Shadow like at the beginning of an activation. It's in our bag of tricks. So in many ways, she is a mini Obulus, but only on sort of, but for much greater influence efficiency. And I think I'm now, if not already surpassed, but Hemlocke has now scored for me more Midnight Offering goals than I think Obulus has scored Puppet Master goals, if that makes sense.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
she's like she's still so new that people don't see it coming.
Yeah, and it's so easy to get the ball and the momentum with that momentous tackle on 1 and 2-inch reach.
Exactly. So you just Midnight Offering yourself into someone, tackle the ball, and away you go. You didn't need the 3 for that, but yeah, she's incredibly efficient and a great piece. And I was absolutely delighted when she fell to us in Union Chains, thanks to a deal that Hearn did in season 2. Read the fluff.
I think she's probably my favorite of the Union and Chains models from a rules standpoint.
Let's not open that particular can of worms just yet.
That's an interesting discussion to have at another time. She might be now, but wasn't at the time. Silence. I joined at such a time where I didn't get to experience Silence that bought 3 inches. 3 inches, 3 influence. Tucked and Shut Out have never really worked for me. Fire Blast is okay. His heroic of creating Dirge I continually forgot, which you can see in a video. Insert Simon and Garfunkel's Hello Darkness, My Old Friend here. And the kick support Dirge was something that I used frequently if Bonesaw was in my 6, which he wasn't very frequently. So Silence was always a rather sad figure for me, in that I know he's meant to be the vice captain of the team, but he was never in my team. And when he was, essentially there were 2 matchups when I put Silence in. One was against Farmers if Fallow was in the team, because making her go next was hilarious. And well done, you attack 4. Or making Corsair go last was because they just give me as much time to try and work out Blue Obulus as I can.
Yeah, but having to play into him with blacksmiths was a pain in the neck. Make the apprentices go before they can be set up properly.
100%. The only thing that I really did like about him is that momentous 2-on-2, which makes Silence a surprise finisher model. He's never going to one-round somebody, but if someone had, if memory or someone had got people's health down low enough, Silence was a surprisingly good finisher. So he was just kind of there as a battery, and he would situationally be useful. And as ever, situational is not a dirty word on this channel. But even then, he didn't do a great deal. And as models like Hemlocke came along, and Sculpt came along, and all of a sudden I've got more 2-inch reach models than I previously had access to, even with the loss of Mist. He kind of fell more and more out of my roster. And now he's really knocking on the door again. So his playbook has changed in such that his tackle, as we mentioned before, has gone from 5 to 2. This makes him an actual legitimate threat to retrieve the ball.
God.
Thankfully. He can trigger Fire Blast on 3. I need to stress how good this change is. And I don't know if you're going to see this across other models and other guilds, but if you do, pay close attention to where this is. Because if you trigger a AoE off the playbook, you do not roll to hit. This is so good.
That combos really well because he benefits from Dirge being there, and as we were talking earlier in the Matchscape episode about having kind of Dirge having that singled out to throw out, it's going to be pretty good to set up Silence with that Fire Blast on 3.
Yeah, or just Dirge following along to make him tag 6 with that tag along. Triggering AoEs.
Or following along, or just following along on a goal run.
Yeah.
I mean, it's situational, but...
Yeah, because he'll...
That's pretty good.
It still makes him a 4/7 kick, which, all right, it's still a 3-inch tap in, but it's a 4 dice kick instead of a 3. Yeah, I haven't even thought of that. It's a great shout. The 3 damage is in the same place. The momentous push dodge is the same place. The momentous dodge is in the same place. He's lost his heroic play, but what he has gained is, I think, my favourite change in season 4, which is a new.
It's one of my favourite pieces of design.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
Absolutely. Tenacity, when this model uses a character play, it may change the cost of that character play from 1 to 2. Or, you can choose either 1 or 2 when you use it. This is brilliant. This is so good. In that, how many times have you used Fire Blast just to put fire down in front of someone? Like, you're not trying to hit them. You're not trying to do damage with it. You're just trying to block a charge lane or block a goal run because they'll set
80% of the time I use it, probably.
Yeah. Unless you're playing like Smoke Alchemists, you're probably realistically, this kind of thing is used to block a lane, and now it costs half the amount of influence that it did before. And I'm not saying that's an influence you're going to use on Silence, but it's an influence you can put elsewhere in your team, and that level of efficiency is phenomenal. And that's not even the main use of it. Being able to go first in the turn and use shut out or tucked 2 dice, 3 dice if you've got the momentum to do it, makes those 2 plays huge. And I know I talk a lot about the importance of positional gameplay within a skirmish war game. I would put second to that activation order. In terms of me knowing which models I should be activating. How many times have you played someone and they go, "Oh, when you did this, perhaps you didn't need to. I had no way of coming back to it." It's one of those most frequent critiques you get back against good players is when you do something, not how you do something, but when you're doing something, like learning how to take the late goal or wait a turn to do the takeout. It's a legitimate skill from going from a mid tier to a top tier player. So having more impact on activation is huge, and that one character trait alone, massive, absolutely massive. And if like me, Silence has not been in your roster for a little while, I'm sure this is going to have exactly the same thing where you just have to find a place for him now, because that level of control is huge.
This one I do think you have to find a place for.
Yeah.
Because I think, especially with what we've seen of football-y teams getting more football-y, killing teams getting more killy, here's your example of the control piece getting way more control.
That's very true.
And I think if you're going to play a control team, he's just... There's so many examples of, where, making the model with the ball that's not in goal range go last. or turn 1, making, say, Shark kicks into you, or Mist kicks into you, or whoever, making a pass with Silence, who recovers the ball, and then bonus timing a 3 dice play to make the striker go next. So making their kickoff model basically have to commit to going into your lines immediately or not at all is just insanely strong. Because a lot of the time you want to keep that pressure up the whole turn, and you don't really want to go in. What you want to do is force them to play cagey with the ball, and you go in last and get the momentum and go first the next turn and get the ball and score. Whereas if you can force them to commit, especially a model like Flint, where it's like, well, what's he going to do? If he comes in, he's going to die. So you probably just end up like passing his activation or retreating him even.
Yep.
I guess it's crazy strong.
Sorry, Ben, go ahead.
I was just going to say the kind of the reason you take him, I suspect is going to be kind of your tucked and your shut out. Certainly in my brief dabble with Morticians, that was it. But it's gone from a 1 dice, Hail Mary to you can be a lot more sure now that when you need it, you're going to get it.
Yeah. Equally with Silence and Veteran Hemlocke and Bonesaw, you can put out a Def 5 team. Like,
don't start.
Like with Alchemist in whatever form they're going to be coming out, as we know they're changing a lot. They're still probably going to be rolling dice for character plays. Hunters are still going to be rolling dice for character plays. Engineers are still going to be rolling dice for character plays. And then, yeah, right, a 2 dice character play against the Def 5 is a 56% chance, but that's much better than a 75% chance.
It's going to be really strong against people who are bad at math and just get really tilted about the fact that they don't hit their momentous result on 2.
Yeah. Equally, I've seen and heard opponents across the table from me go, I want to deadbolt you, but I'm going to do something else because you're Def 5. And Def 5 talks people out of doing stuff. So, you are exerting control on your opponent passively. Now, we talked right at the very beginning of this playlist about how Obulus's Legendary is the best in the game because you don't have to use it. It's just there. And Def 5 is like a mini version of that to me. So being able to have multiple models that have that at their disposal. In fact, isn't Pelage Def 5?
Yes.
Yeah, so Pelage, Veteran Hemlocke, Silence, and Bonesaw. That's not an awful team.
I actually kind of like that team a lot.
Oh dear.
It's got a little bit of everything.
But it's actually just got a lot of football.
Yeah.
Like that's all like pretty good goal threats.
Yeah. I mean, Hemlock's got the worst kick, but then she can get next to the goal whenever she wants.
Yep.
So
that actually makes me think
5 Def 5s.
Lol. So one of the issues in Season 4 receiving the ball is the fact that the kickoff piece starts with momentum makes the snapback goal really, really easy.
Sure.
So if you want to play, say, a football-y Obulus Morticians team, Silence is really strong there because you don't have to just waste Puppet Master on the kickoff model. If you receive, you can just have Silence make them go next while you keep the ball safe. And after they've gone, you can then pass it and dodge Bonesaw forward and take the Bonesaw goal when they can't get the snap back. I think football-y Morticians are going to be a thing again.
You think? Even though that's kind of like the Ratcatchers purview as being the controlling football-y team?
Obulus gets what Obulus wants.
I can think of no better way of finishing this. Gentlemen, thank you very much. And we will be back very shortly to talk about Piper and Squeak.